Now we will discuss the properties of inverse trigonometric functions. So before that, let's recollect certain facts about the inverse trigonometric functions. Now, if suppose we have function y is equal to sin x, then the natural domain, as we have already discussed, the natural domain of this function is going to be from r to minus 1 to 1. So the natural domain is going to be r and the range is going to be minus 1 to 1. Now, in this sense, it's not a one-to-one function, we are creating a restriction on it. So the restricted domain is also called as the principal domain. So the principal domain is going to be minus pi by 2 to pi by 2, and the range is undisturbed, it is still minus 1 to 1. Now, when this kind of a condition is imposed on sin x, then it becomes a one-to-one function and an onto function. Now, if you are able to define the sin inverse x, so sin x in this restricted domain is, since it is one-to-one and onto, we can definitely think of its inverse, which is sin inverse x. So the sin inverse x can be defined in such a way that we can do two kinds of operation between sin x and sin inverse x. That is, if you are able to take the inverse of sin x or the sine of inverse of x, we can do either of the operations. Like, if sin x is taken as f, then sin inverse is going to be f inverse. So this is going to be the first one. Now observe, the first one is going to look in the format. So this one is of the format f inverse of f of x, and the second one is of the format f of f inverse of x. So from the basics of inverse function, we know that f inverse of f or f inverse f of f inverse, both is going to generate the value only. So in both the cases, it is going to be x only, right? So similarly, if you see, sin inverse of sin x is also x and sine of sin inverse x is also x. But the most important condition to be observed here is what values of x is taken in the first case and what are the values of x taken in the second case. This is more important. So that's the point that is given here. Observe. So when we talk about sine of sin inverse of x, that is f of f inverse of x, that is going to be x. But here, what are the values that you are going to speak about? Whenever you are taking sine of its inverse, the values of x will be between minus 1 to 1. So sine of sine inverse x is going to be x for all values of x that belongs to minus 1 to 1, means its range, right? Similarly, when you talk about sine inverse of sin x, it is going to be x, where x is going to belong to the argument, the range of arguments, which is minus pi by 2 to pi by 2. Okay. So please have a clarity of it. So sine of sine inverse of x is going to be x, for which the domain is going to be minus 1 to 1, and sine inverse of sin x is also x, for which the domain is going to be the angles. So minus 1 to 1 are the values and minus pi by 2 to pi by 2 are the angles. So as I already told you, whenever you are doing sine inverse of any value, you get the angle. Similarly, you do sine of any angle. Sine inverse is an angle, have it in your mind. So sine of any angle is going to give you the value. That is the meaning. Okay. Keeping all these facts in mind, let's discuss certain properties that are related to the inverse trigonometric function. The first property that is given in your textbook is the first property. Observe this. Sine inverse of 1 by x is equal to cosecant inverse of x for all values of x that is greater than or equal to 1 or x values less than or equal to minus 1. Means the domain here, so if you observe, you have sine inverse of 1 by x is equal to cosecant x. I am also extending this. This also implies, I'll not say it, this implies. Similarly, what we can do is, what we can say is Sine inverse x can also be written as cosecant inverse. Sine inverse x can be written as cosecant inverse of 1 by x, whereas here x belongs to minus 1 to 1. So observe the difference here. So here it is sine inverse of 1 by x which is equal to cosecant x, whereas here sine inverse of x is equal to cosecant inverse 1 by x. So what the difference here is, here in the point which is given in your textbook, the domain is decided by the cosecant inverse. So whichever inverse trigonometric function is having the x in the numerator is going to decide the domain. So here if you observe the domain is going to be any real number except the values between minus 1 to 1 open bracket. So this is going to be the case. Whereas in the second case which I have mentioned, sine inverse x is equal to cosecant inverse 1 by x, here this one is going to decide the domain. So we know that the domain of sine inverse x is going to be between minus 1 to 1. Okay, so let's try to prove it. So let's see the proof of it. Let sine inverse of 1 by x be equal to y. So considering sine on both the sides, you will get 1 by x is equal to sine y, which implies x is equal to cosecant y. So let this be equation number 1, cosecant y. Taking cosecant inverse on both the sides, cosecant inverse of x is equal to cosecant inverse of cosecant y is going to be y. This is 2. So from 1 and 2, if you observe, the right hand side is y. So the left hand sides are supposed to be equal. From this we can conclude, from 1 and 2 we can conclude that sine inverse of 1 by x is equal to cosecant inverse of x. So this we have already used in the previous chapter, previous exercise. So it is like this, observe. So how to solve the problem is, if suppose you are asked to find the value of sine inverse of 1 by root 2, this can also be written as cosecant inverse of root 2 and vice versa. If suppose they ask you to find the value of cosecant inverse of root 2, if suppose you don't remember the value of cosecant inverse of root 2, this can be converted to sine inverse of 1 by root 2 so that it becomes easy. So the answer here is going to be pi by 4. Okay, so this is the case. Now similarly, if you observe the other values, so whichever trigonometric function is the reciprocal of other, then this property gets satisfied. Since cos and secant are reciprocal of each other, we can say cos inverse of 1 by x is going to be secant inverse of x for all values of x that belongs to R except minus 1 to 1. So that's what is given here. So x is greater than or equal to 1 or x is less than or equal to minus 1. The meaning of, so this one and this one mean the same. Similarly, I am writing it in the reverse order also. Cos inverse x can also be written as secant inverse of 1 by x for all values of x that belongs to minus 1 to 1. Okay. In most of the cases, what we'll do is we'll use this property. We'll use the first property that is given in textbook, because we'll never want converting cos inverse to secant inverse. So if at all there is a scenario to find the value, then you can use this property. Similarly, tan inverse of 1 by x will be equal to cot inverse of x for all values of x that is greater than 0. Similarly, what you can say is tan inverse of x is also equal to cot inverse of 1 by x. This is also applicable for all values of x greater than 0. So please have this in your mind. And lastly, see, there will be a small confusion that is existing because of this property. One common mistake that I observe everyone doing is, many students write sine inverse x is equal to 1 by sine x. This is wrong. See, sine inverse x is sine inverse x only. If you write sine x to the power minus 1, then that is 1 by sine x. Try to understand, 1 by sine x is the reciprocal of sine x. It is not the inverse. So there are two words, have it in your mind. Inverse is a function, reciprocal is just an operation. Reciprocal of sine x. whereas sine inverse x is going to be inverse function of sine x. So similar is the case with other trigonometric functions also. So please avoid this mistake.